Each biome in ICARUS has a ton of unique missions to choose from when you want to play in that biome. One of the most common versions of these missions are construction missions. The basic goal of a construction mission is to make an outpost of a sort and put down some specialty objects the game has told you to put down in order to complete the mission. And that's it. Overall, I would say construction missions are probably one of the easier ones you can do in the grand scheme of the game. There's one exception to this, which is the very last one, sandbox. But overall, they're a good source of money and they're pretty fun as well. I would recommend doing them if you're just trying to have a good time. They're fun to do. Also, aside from the last one, you can probably get them all done within an hour. So they aren't a huge time commitment like a few of the missions in this game. Anyway, there are 4 construction missions currently in the game as of me recording this. There's one for the desert canyons. There is one for the glacier biome, the riverlands, and finally the late game desert, or the regular desert. If I were to rank these from easiest to hardest, I would probably say Pyramid, which is the Desert Canyons mission, is the easiest. Then I would say the Glacier one, which is Influx, is the second easiest. The third one would be Lifeline. It also has a hardcore option, so you can, if you want to take a bigger risk, you can get more money out of it. The hardest one, without a fucking doubt, is Sandbox, which is the late game desert one. As for general tips for beating these successfully and quickly, the biggest thing would be to build near the build zone. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this, like in the glacier. Building in the glacier is really scuffed because you really don't have resources. Also, it's important to build around resources that you need. For example, it would be a better idea to build a bit farther away from your build zone and closer to a cave, so you have access to metal whenever you want it, than building right on top of the build zone and having to run a while to get to a cave. Anyway, I think that kind of covers the general principles and what the construction missions even are. So let's dive into each one individually. As I said earlier, there are 4 that are currently in the game. One for the desert, one for the glacier, one for the riverlands, and finally one for the late game desert. So the very first one, which is actually what you're seeing right now, me running around and playing, is called Pyramid. And it's a pretty simple one where you spawn in the forest, you run your way to the desert. Up on this kind of this ridge of this giant canyon, in front there is the build spot. The buildings or stations that you need to place down in order to finish this mission are a skinning bench, a trophy bench, a water reservoir or rain reservoir, and a textiles bench. These are all really easy to get. You can craft them in the standard workbench, except for the trophy bench, which you will need to make an anvil and a furnace for. However, there is a cave extremely close by that you can literally set up in, which will give you more than enough metal that you're going to need to get the anvil and the furnaces. In terms of hazards you're going to face in this mission, the wildlife, the animals, are always going to be a problem. In the desert, they're everywhere. So as long as you have a bow and you have 3 brain cells you're working with, then you should be fine. And also, one other thing is to try to make a bed as soon as you can, because if you do end up doing some stupid shit and dying, you're going to have a nice long run back if you got to make yourself a bed. Anyway, this one is really easy, as I said, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. Anyway, I think that just about covers all the important stuff. If I missed anything out, let me know in the comments, and I will look through the comments and respond to questions you guys have. So, for the next one, which is Influx, and it is a snow biome mission, This means that you can't really build in the Arctic itself, so you have to build far away from the building zone. So it is extremely important that when you make your runs to go into the glacier biome, you have everything you need, as well as be ready to dodge polar bears, because they are everywhere and you really can't fuck with them unless you have guns in this game. Also, there is a big cave that is really, like, it's at the perfect position, right on the edge of the snow biome, pretty far away from the polar bear spawns where they roam. So you can just pop down your base inside that cave and grind it out. The specialty items that you're going to need for this one are a potbelly stove, 6 sheltered bedrolls, a cooking station, and an oxidizer. The hardest thing to get would be the potbelly stove. It just takes a little bit more metal. However, this cave is really good, and you'll have more than enough metal to honestly even make a machining table probably. The only other things to really worry about are the weather of the snow biome. If you're going to make this in pieces and not just all at once, then weather might be an issue and it might destroy your building while you're outside of the biome. Also, obviously, polar bears, just try to avoid them at all costs, really, you know. There's no reason to fuck with them. And honestly, that's kind of it. As I said earlier, this mission really isn't that difficult. And as long as you aren't fucking stupid and, like, have eyes that work, you can see the polar bears in front of you. And yeah, I would say that's really the biggest problem. The resource collection is really easy since you have that cave that I mentioned earlier. And since you also have access to the forest, which is right there. Just be careful of the polar bears, that's really it. Anyway, the next construction mission is in the Riverlands, and it is called Lifeline. This one is personally my favorite construction mission. I have a great time playing it, and there is a hardcore option for it, which obviously means if you die, then it's kind of game over, and also it like kind of buffs some of the animals and stuff, so like they see you and they're more aggressive and whatnot, you know what I mean? Anyway, this one is kind of medium difficulty. You have to run a really long way in order to get to the build zone, and the Riverlands is completely covered in bears and wolves, which there's a lot of water, which means you can kite them through the water, kill them pretty easily, but if you get caught with your pants down, they can fuck you in the ass. All of the construction missions in this game have a cave nearby so that you can access metal easily, and obviously Lifeline is no different. There's a pretty good cave that is really close, a little bit farther away than normal, but it's still within like 1 or 2 grids on the map, so you can access the build spot really easily. And it's also a pretty good area too. There's water so you can kite the bears and kite the animals around and stuff, and that has a lot of resources as well. The specialty items that you have to place down to complete this mission are 2 bedrolls, a herbalism bench, 1 crop plot, 1 kitchen bench, and kitchen stove, which kind of go together. The kitchen bench and kitchen stove, unfortunately, you do need a machining table to craft them, and they are under the tier 3 tech tree. So obviously, if you're under leveled or if you're not prepared to grind, then I wouldn't do this mission. However, they really aren't too hard to get. All you need to get is the cement mixer to get the concrete furnace, and then the concrete furnace to get the steel, which you need in order to craft the kitchen bench and kitchen stove. Anyhow, I think that just about covers Lifeline, so next up is Sandbox, which is the final construction mission currently in the game, located in the late game desert. I talked about this briefly in my late game desert video, where I played through all the missions, which you should go check out, by the way, please. I need subscribers and likes and reviews and all that, please, thank you. Anyway, this mission is probably the hardest one in the entire game, and I would not recommend playing it. It's just not worth it for the amount of time and effort you're gonna put in for the reward, and it's a complete fucking grind. It really isn't super fun, you know what I mean? The objective is just to put down endgame shit in a cave somewhere, and it's just grindy, man. On the bright side, you do have access to the best cave in the game, which stretches all across the desert, and it even goes into the Arctic. It is fucking giant, and it has more than enough resources in itself to support you in crafting all the items. Unfortunately, the outside, like with the trees and the shrubs and the animals, and the outside resources like silica and sulfur are kind of lacking, so that becomes really grindy as well. And as an experienced solo or as a small team, this mission is probably going to take you, if I had to estimate, I would say 8 to 10 hours to complete. So that time commitment for the reward you're going to get at the end is not worth it at all. There are so many other missions, especially the final boss killing missions, especially the sandworm, is going to be way more bang for your buck and just a lot more fun in general. Battling a giant fucking dildo is way more fun than sitting in a cave and mining resources all day and night. However, if you are determined to play this mission, then here are some tips. First of all, if you aren't built at the mouth of or one of the entrances of the Giga Cave, do that immediately or move your base over there. It's incredibly important too because of the sheer amount of copper and gold you're gonna need in order to complete this mission. So cutting down on if it takes 2 minutes to run to the cave and you have to do like 50 trips, that's like a whole hour of just running back and forth that you could cut down if you built inside the cave. Anyway, try to grab as much stuff from the forest because you're going to be mainly living out of the desert and having like berries, carrots, pumpkins, all the stuff that is forest or Riverlands technically exclusive. It's going to make your journey in the desert a lot easier because you'll have more options open in terms of your crafts. Another quick tip is to stockpile as much sulfur as you can, because sulfur and tree sap combined in a mortar and pestle creates epoxy, and you will need a ridiculous amount of epoxy for all the electronics required to get the end game item. Finally, all of the items that are required in order to complete this mission are 1 electric furnace, 2 directional work lamps, an electric dehumidifier, and finally a machining table. Also, you're gonna need a generator or a solar panel. Generator is way easier to make and it's just better, so that's what you would do. So also kind of like a hidden one would be the generator. And honestly, that's kind of it. This entire mission, if you're going to do it, is just a complete grind. Again, I would really recommend it. If you want to do it, just complete all the missions in the game, then go for it. But be warned, bro, this shit's kind of rough. Anyway, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike or let me know why the fuck I suck. That would be appreciated. And also, if you want to know why you keep dying or just generally improve at scan missions, then you should check out this video right here.